As a champion, you got to be able to handle criticism, and you got to be able to handle critiques.
People are always going to go against you, and I thrived off of that. Reporters used to give it to me all the time in the press.
Lennox Lewis has reached a point in his career where he's like a man trying to ice skate across the Gobi Desert. Okay? He's got the wrong tools, the wrong approach, and he ain't going to get there.
I think Lennox Lewis's problem is Lennox Lewis, that he really doesn't have a passion for fighting, a fire in his belly.
No one could be as good a fighter as Lennox Lewis thinks he is. It's impossible. If he's half as good as he thought he was, he'd be Joe Louis.
I think that helps me in the sense of having a lot of criticism, because it helps motivate me, because it wants me to prove them wrong.
With me, they used to say, well, he can't take a punch, he has no stamina, he doesn't throw enough jabs.
Until he improves his technique, criticism will continue.
So far, I've got to say, it looks a lot like the old Lennox Lewis.
Oh, no changes at all.
I've read that Lennox Lewis doesn't have no power, Lennox Lewis doesn't have a chin, Lennox Lewis can't box.
This is what people are saying in the community about you, okay? And this is the media. These are trainers, these are, who are these other
Boxers.
Boxers.
I used to listen to that and then go and prove them wrong.
That helps motivate me.
You know, Colin Hart used to say that, oh, I'm going to lose. I used to want to prove him wrong.
Even some criticism, really helped my career. I really like to thank those people as well.
Because I didn't want to deal with people coming and say, hey, Olympic champ, you're going to be good, you're going to knock this guy out, this guy's easy. I didn't want to hear all that. I wanted to go, learn my profession, come back, and then you can see what I've learned.
Stewart, who had been in Oliver McCall's corner the night Lewis lost his title to McCall, didn't wait to begin criticizing his new pupil.
At that stage, he was a very still emotionally not completely stable person. His last fight he had lost. He's too conservative and too intelligent and too analytical in the ring. And that is what has stopped him from becoming the fighter that he is capable of being. I pinpointed his biggest weakness was his balance. And he said, I agree. And that's what can we do to change it. So that was one of the first things that really impressed me about his willingness to learn and to change and accept his weak points. I think that was the biggest factor. I felt that he needed a real good, strong person that he could respect.
If I have a bad day in the gym, he'll tell me I look terrible. And that makes me want to come back the next day and look good.
You're going to have other champions that are going to say things, and it may sound like criticism, but sometimes it's just advice.
If Lewis would only use his left jab to a little better, making the fight hard because he's not snapping his jab.
Would you like to train him, George?
Boy, I could really help this kid out.
They would say, he's not throwing that jab enough. He's not being authoritative with the jab.
Sooner or later, Lennox Lewis is going to remember who he is and what he's gone through and revert to the old Lewis of maybe 3 years ago.
The good Lewis.
And whip this guy. Got a good right hand, why not use it? Look at this foolishness. He just doesn't know how to jab. That's all there is to it.
He throws the jab and stands there.
George for me helped my career just by commentating on my fights because I listened to him. I would go and train and come back and be authoritative with that jab, because that's what George said. He knows, he's been there.
There's constructive criticism, and I've got a very open mind when it comes to that.
You don't want to listen, then you don't want to learn.
When Lennox throws that left jab, he has to constantly move. He can't stand there and see if the jab lands. He got to keep moving. Step and a half, jab, step.
Get in the pocket, jab, don't move back afterwards, slide forward.
You got to be able to shoulder that if you're going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. If you're going to be a champion, period, you got to be able to shoulder people close to you coming out and saying stuff.
Realize there's a sacrifice, put in the work, find out how do I get there, and go do it.
I realized that when I first went into boxing, I was a man on a mission, and you could say my mission's complete.